I tell you, back in the day, when we had to learn how to spell different things,
Oh yes.
there was a state
Hmm.
um, called Mississippi.
I
You
thought
know,
that this morning.
and did you see on Good Times?
Uh-huh.
It said
I
M-I,
crooked
crooked
letter
letter
I,
I, crooked
crooked
crooked letter
letter I,
high,
P P
humpback.
humpback.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember that.
You
That's one
feel?
of the that's we learned that in elementary school. MISSI
Yes, yes, yes. And Robert L. Dean, we got a great interview with us today. Who do we have with us today,
Yeah,
my
this
friend?
gentleman has a T-shirt that I would like to have one of as well. This gentleman has been in the music ministry, let me call it ministry, for a long time, and he has done some wonderful, wonderful executive work. You've heard his music. You may not know his name, but you will after today. This young man is also a retired firefighter. So this man gives to his community, he gives to the church, and he is a pastor of the We Are One United Methodist Church. Ladies and gentlemen, the music executive himself, the one and the only one, Mr. Jerry Mannery. Welcome to the Wake Up Morning Show.
Good morning, my brother Robert and Dr. LT, and I say to God be the glory, and I am that I am by the grace of God. So just
Yes, yes, yes.
glad to be
Amen.
here with you all early this morning.
Well, I'm just gonna just get right on
Get
to
right
it,
in it.
and I'm like, say, good morning to you, Pastor. How you doing?
Good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made. You know, as a preacher, y'all excuse me if the scripture keep coming out,
That's all
because
right.
whatever's inside of a piece of fruit, when you squeeze it, that's what comes out.
That's what
Uh
comes
huh.
out.
Now,
Yeah, so
now,
I thank God for you all, and thank God for and you all said ministry. This is exactly what you all are doing as well. The How God are using you all to put this gospel out on the airwaves, and we understand that if a tree were to fall in the forest and no one's there, it makes not a sound.
Correct.
But you all makes it where you all are really sharing this good news. That God has blessed us with around the world. And I just want to say thank you.
well, we want to
Our
say
pleasure.
thank you for the many great years of work that you have done. Now, I just want to, before we get into the business of it all, how's the family?
We're doing wonderful. Like everyone else, no one's exempt from it. But if you add up all the good, subtract all the bad, it's still good.
Still good.
Okay,
Still
and
good.
and how?
God won't fail. And as I was listening, I was jamming with you all before we came on, and my beloved brother Ricky, and the words say, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but His word, and He is His word, so He won't fail." So
Ever.
yeah, we're doing good.
Amen. I'm so excited because we just finished Bayside Gospel Concert aboard the Midway, and we did the evolution of gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that we had to include an iconic picture of the Mississippi Mass
Yes, they
Choir
were included.
as a part of that because you are and have been the fabric of our musical life. At 59 years old, I have not, I don't even know if I remember a time without the Mississippi Mass. So let's start right there. How did it all start?
Well, you have Frank Williams, who's the brother of the Williams brothers,
Hmm.
and also he was the former lead singer and guitar player with the Jackson Southern Airs.
Yes.
And so Frank had been working with some of the greatest quartets around the country. Willie Neal Johnson, Gospel Keynote, Pilgrim Jubilees, the Sensational Nightingales, and even with his brothers, the Williams brothers. And the Lord put it on his heart to form this choir because Mississippi is known for the quartets.
Hmm.
And Frank knew that there were other singers who really had not had an opportunity for their gifts to be displayed. So God gave him the vision to start this choir. And Frank got with David R. Curry Jr. David, who wrote "Having You There," arranged "Near the Cross," "To
Curry
God Be
Temple.
the Glory."
Curry Temple Church
Oh,
of God in Christ.
oh,
Why don't
look,
you put your trust
David.
in Jesus?
Yeah, put your trust in Jesus. It was Liberty Trinity Church of God in Christ that his father founded,
Hmm.
and so put your trust in Jesus. All those songs back in the day, So when Frank, the first person that Frank reached out to was David Curry. David reached out to Jerry Smith. Jerry's that pianist that you hear on Near the Cross and all of our
Yes.
hits. I was Frank's assistant at the time at Malaco Records, and Roy Wooten, who was the promotion person there, and Reverend Benjamin Cone, also the deep voice Reverend Benjamin
Mm-hmm.
Cone, and Frank Williams.
Storyteller.
Yeah, storyteller. He brought all of us together, and the clarion call went out across the state of Mississippi that we were looking for singers. And from every area of the state, when you hear state choirs, Florida Mass, Georgia Mass, Mississippi, New Jersey, all these choirs, the Mississippi Mass is truly a statewide choir. We have choir members who lives in the Mississippi Delta. We have choir members in Northeast Mississippi, up around Memphis and Tupelo. And
Wow.
so, and some of these people have to drive 4 hours one way to rehearsal.
Wow.
So the call went out. We did auditions, selected 150 of those people who came, and Brother Robin and Dr. LT, when we had no idea when we did this project in 1988, we had no idea what God was about to do, and the project was recorded in like May of '88, and in October of 1988. And 6 weeks after the recording came out, it went number one in the country and stayed 48 consecutive weeks.
Wow.
And so that let us know that it was not anything of us, of our doing, and it was God. And so it started in 1988, and so has taken us around the world. We did 2 tours of Japan. We were the first gospel group to perform at the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. We've done South Africa, Portugal, Spain, gone throughout
Jesus.
Europe. And so when the word talks about your gift making room for you, it truly did that. And we use a cliche to say that we are who we are by the grace of God, but that's true. If God was the one who did this for us, and so we're still trying to catch up with that first project.
Well, I,
Wow.
I want to ask the
Jesus.
question, because inquiring minds want to know, uh, are the choir members required to clean their own robes, or do y'all have your own cleaning bill? Because y'all got a lot of
It's a
robes.
lot of robes.
Well, and one of the things that we kind of like Superman. You got to have your cape,
Yeah.
and your outfit, that red, white, and blue jumpsuit.
Yeah.
You got to have that on a phone booth. So, but yeah, but we have probably for every recording we get a new robe done.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we've done, with our members, God has blessed us in such a way that our members don't have to really. We provide a means for them to be able to pay for their robes
Wow.
when they go out on the road with us. Everyone gets paid. That's how we've been able to stay out there 36 years.
Wow.
There's no, as far as with expenses, hotel, travel, food, and on top of that, we compensate our people. Because it wasn't a livelihood for us. And you would be shocked what Frank Williams was. When you go out on the road, a type of fee that he would get for going on the road, and the same thing with myself. We understood that we could have set this up where principal people could do the lion's share,
Right.
but we understood that there was ministry, and so we take care of our people. And there was a milk company back in the day called Carnation Milk Company,
Yes.
and they had a slogan. They said that the reason that their milk was so sweet was because their cows were content. And so,
Yes.
and the word say godliness with contentment
Yes.
equals great gain. And so we understood that principle, and truly, this really is a ministry for us.
And so you even was over the youth choir that featured Dathan, one of the wonderful
Oh,
twins, the nephew of David Curry. Let's talk about
yeah.
your creativity in starting a youth choir, which is common like a branch of the main
Yes, it
choir.
was a branch in Robert. What happened after the success of the first project? We said, man, how we gonna top this?
Right.
And so we have a venue here. It's called the Coliseum, and it seats about 10,000. And we wanted to do the recording there. And so we were saying, well, how can we put 10,000 people in there? And so God gave me the vision to start the Mississippi Children's Choir,
Hmm.
and it really was a marketing tool. You know, it really was. We said, well, if we get 300-400 young folks and children,
Their
we
parents.
didn't even audition. We just reached out to churches and said, if you all have children and want to become a part of this youth group, a children's choir, we would be able to, with David Curry, Jerry Smith, all of them, they would be able to get firsthand instruction from the
Wow.
very best.
For the
And this
best.
was across the summer, and so we had 350 children came out, and we knew that with that many children, they had mamas and,
Cousins.
and, and grandmama and granddaddies and aunts and uncles, and had church members. We
Hmm.
knew they were going to buy the tickets. So
Hmm.
I'm just going, confession is good for the soul.
Right.
So I'm just going to confess that was really the motive behind it, was a promotional tool, and they did so well. This was on the God Gets the Glory project. They
Hmm.
did so well until he said, "Hey, man, we need to keep them together,"
Right.
and that's how the Mississippi Children's Choir was born. And then we recorded the project with the Shepherd Song, and then
Brian Wilson.
Brian Andrew Wilson, the
Hmm.
young kid that everyone knew from doing his Eyes on the Sparrow.
Yep.
Brian was brought in. Brian actually was from Danville, Illinois. Is from Danville, Illinois,
Hmm.
and he lived next door to a young lady that my nephew married, and she had been telling me about this young boy who could sing. And I said, "Sure." I'm at the wedding. He comes off to the side. "Hey, Mr. Mannery, I can sing. You want to hear me sing?" And when Brian, that first note came out of his mouth, I was blown away.
Wow.
So, so the children's choir came about, and as you said, it really is a branch of Mississippi, and that's kind of the behind the scenes story.
And you had Anisha in there too, and she was a background singer for Janet Jackson, and
Yes.
her mom used to sing with Lonnie Morgan in the Voices in Praise in Los Angeles.
Oh, Nisha, Lord have mercy. She's like my daughter. And when you talk about Anisha, you talk about Brian, and as you said, Dayton Thigpen, and Dayton, I'm trying to think of which season it was, the Sunday Best that he won. But Dayton, on our, he's doing the song called There Is Hope,
Hmm.
and you see this little 8-9 year old kid, ooh,
Good thing.
just slaying, and we knew then, that that's just such an anointing on Dathan's life.
Yes.
But I think that the we captured him first when he was like 8 years old with Mississippi Children's Choir.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna have two questions. One's gonna be a business question, and the other
Hmm.
one is gonna be, my secret fear. So I'm gonna start with my secret fear.
What's that?
Hmm.
Ever since I saw Mississippi burning,
Oh God.
I've been fearful
Traumatized.
and traumatized to come into Mississippi. I think that now that we've established a relationship, if I could just connect with you, I'll be okay in Mississippi as long as I keep my mouth shut because I got a lot to say. So help us from California. That ain't. I've been all over the
I've been there
country.
before.
I've been all over the country, but I every time they say going to Mississippi, I take the long way
I've
around.
been there before.
Well, let me say this. Mississippi, and we have a couple of titles that we refer to ourselves. We say the hospitality state and then the birthplace of American music. But Mississippi is one of the warmest place and the most friendliest place you will ever go, because see, the thing about Mississippi, our reputation is real, but we were able to get these things out in the open. We address them, whereas in a lot of states, that stuff been buried,
Yep.
Hmm.
and just because you don't see it or hear it, don't mean it's not there.
It's hidden.
And so that line is always drawn in the sand, and then when push come to shove, that's when these things come up. But
Hmm.
we were able to address those things in the I would say the 40s, 50s, 60s, you don't hear of those incidents, like happen. You see all the things going on across the country.
Hmm.
You don't see Mississippi in the news anymore. That's because we addressed them at that time,
Hmm.
and it's just like a wound. You cover it up. After a while, it will fester and it get infected. But if you want to heal that wound, you have to let some air hit it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I think that we did. We addressed it, and you never hear this, but you will find the warmest people in Mississippi. And I would say, hey, come on down. The we definitely look forward to hosting you.
I
Now, no, no, I got to get
okay.
my second part.
Okay.
Now, Mississippi Mass is iconic, but I believe that there was a architect behind the scenes that was doing a lot that most choirs didn't have. Talk about your impact on helping them navigate this whole thing called the music industry.
Well, I was, and you said it earlier that I was a firefighter, and as a matter of fact, I was the first African American to retire from the Jackson, Mississippi Fire Department as
Wow.
a fire captain in 1994.
Wow.
And so, as a fireman, I worked one day, I was off 2 days. And on my 2 days off, I was blessed to have a record company in my hometown. Malico Records is based out of my hometown. Matter
Legend.
of fact, it's probably a couple of miles from where I live. And so I went to Malico in 1984, pitching songs. And see, a lot of people don't know that I'm a songwriter. They know me from the administrative and the executive side.
Hmm.
Well, I went to Malico pitching songs in 1984, met Frank Williams, and Frank and I didn't even talk about songs. We talked about the Lord the whole meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I noticed Frank was very busy and he didn't have a lot of help. And it was a small, his department was small. And I said, Frank, man, if you let me, I'm off 2 days, work one day, off 2 days, and
Hmm.
someday I'm off 4 days a week, I'll come and work for you for free.
Wow.
And because God gifted me with
Wait, wait, wait. Hold on,
administrative
hold on,
gift.
hold on. You dropped a
He
nugget.
served. He
Say, say,
served.
say that again
He
because
served.
as a record executive, I've been trying to tell these young folks. Say that one more time so they can get that.
Yeah, so I said, look, I will come and work for you for free. And, just to be able to, first of all, come in and help him. And then I knew it was a two-edged sword, it would get me in the door as well. And so Frank said, man, I definitely need some help. And he said, if I'm able to hire you, I'm going to pay you. And about a week later, he called and said, you ready to come to work? And so I went in as Frank's assistant.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, going in pitching songs, and it was probably 5 years. Now I'm working for the top producer in the country at
Hmm.
one of the largest gospel labels, and it was 5 years later before I had my first song recorded. So, I just want to share with those who are out there listening. The Bible says that our gift make room for us, and I added a tagline to it. I said our gift make room for us to make room for Him. God did. He's not just making room for us, just for us to go out there and furnish it for our own
Come
sake.
on.
He's saying, no, no, I'm making room for you to make room for me. And so, but I understood that there's no such things as a seedless harvest. Harvest comes from seeds. You have to plant, and the planting of the seed is, you're actually giving that seed away.
Hmm.
And so, but some of us, we go out and we want to start off at the top, but it's a process. And so I went in to start working for Frank. He ended up being my best friend. My children was called him Uncle Frank, and to this day, his children still call me Uncle Jerry. But I went in and with the unbeknown to us, Frank contracted a respiratory disorder I would say in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And then after we recorded the Your Grace and Mercy project,
Hmm.
two months after we recorded the project, the Lord called him home, and so I was in a position, having been his assistant.
Right.
The record label named me the executive director coming behind Frank. So, 1988, I came to the company knocking on the door, trying to get in the door,
Wow.
and in 1984, and then in 1993, I had the keys to the door.
Wow.
And so God, and only God can do that. But I didn't realize for about 5 years, Frank was preparing me for this position. I started handling all of his, the bookings of the artists, day to day relationship with the artists there. I was handling, getting publishing and stuff, all of those things for him. I was handling radio, and so after he passed, I said, "Wow, I had no idea that he was preparing me for this position."
Hmm.
And people say, "Well, man, he took Frank's shoes." I said, "Man, Frank's shoes have been bronzed, and I
Right.
don't know if you ever tried to walk in bronze shoes, but those shoes on the wall, I'm not walking in his shoes. I'm following the direction that he pointed me in, and God said to me what He said, when to Joshua when Moses was leaving, as I was with Moses, so will I be with you."
Yes.
And God is faithful,
Yes, he is.
and He has proven Himself. And to this day, Frank passed in 1993, and so God has blessed me to be at the helm of the choir for 31 years. Frank was with the choir for 5 years.
Wow.
And so, even though I'll never be able to do, the things that Frank did, but I can do what He's called me to do.
Right. My story with Mississippi is I had the opportunity to go with my church choir when I was going to school in Arkansas, and we sung at the Church of God in Christ college there, and that was a
Hmm.
wonderful experience. And then my college choir, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, we happened to be on tour when Frank passed, and we sung at David Curry's brother's church,
Hmm.
and God allowed us the opportunity to go to his wake. So I remember having a chance to pay my respects to Frank. So you people are very, very, very kind to everybody from my experiences.
Well, and again, Frank, you know, astronomers tell us about stars that burned out thousands of years ago, whose light can yet be seen in the sky. Frank was such a star, and he, I mean, burned out in 1993, and a lot of time, I'm talking about Frank. Man, I get emotional. It's like it happened yesterday
Right,
because I didn't. I think I cried every tear I had,
right, right.
and it was, man, it was such even though we knew he was sick, but still, his passing was such it impacted me so. And to my thing has been, it's I'm a keeper of the flame.
Yes,
When you talk about Frank Williams, I'm a Frank Williams apologist.
yes.
So and always will be. And matter of fact, on our new project, we have been looking. Frank has a daughter. Her name is Jessica, and uh, and she's also on that project with Dayton,
Hmm.
the Mississippi Children's Choir. She was one of our Mississippi Children's member, and we've been looking for a song for Jessica, to do a tribute. And if you notice, almost every project we've done since Frank passed, we've either redone one of his
Right.
songs or we do some type of tribute to him. So we wanted to do a tribute to him with his daughter Jessica. But for the last three, four projects, we could not find the song. We went back into his repertoire
Hmm.
and said, well, we could find something he's written for other folks, and we can arrange it and let Jessica do it. Could not find the song. And on this particular project that we have out now, we still believe. We were probably 6 weeks from the recording date, still hadn't found the song.
Wow.
And And so a friend of mine named Zach Harmon, Zach, Mississippi boy that went to L.A. Back in the '80s, first artist A&M Records signed, and he produced the Whispers, Alexander O'Neal, Troop,
Wow.
Karen White, all these groups back in the day. Now we started out writing songs together in our 20s, but Zach went to LA and did well, and he emailed me about 3 o'clock in the morning, about 6 weeks out from the recording session. Said, "Man, I think I have a song for Jessica." And it was a song that he and Valerie Bailey, who's Philip Bailey's wife
Mm-hmm.
of Earth, Wind and Fire,
Mm-hmm.
and also Joey Kibble of Take Six and Christopher Troy. They wrote this song and probably been in the can 20 years. The song was so old, he had to pull it off an ADAT machine.
Oh
So
wow.
if y'all know how, that's just like saying had to pull it off an 8 track.
Right.
And so he pulled the song, sent it to me about 3 o'clock one morning, and the song is called "When I Talk to You." And my God, when I heard the song, I shed tears,
Right.
and we were able to find the song for Frank's daughter Jessica to do a tribute to him called "When I Talk to You."
God's
And
timing. God's timing.
yeah,
Now,
it was the timing for this song, but now we have an opportunity to really introduce Jessica Williams. And Jessica, she's truly, we talk about the Williams brothers,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the Williams niece, the Williams brothers' niece,
Right.
and she's going to, I think she's going to do very well. So Frank's legacy is being passed along through his daughter,
That's
well,
amazing.
Jessica.
well, I got to ask the question because it's a rumor, and I just want to kind of clear up the rumor, just to help the people. I don't want nobody to stumble. You know, rumor has it that you honed your writing skills, and you wrote a song for your wife, and that's what got you over back in the
Your
day.
wife to be back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You was courting her.
Yeah, rumor has it that you wrote a song and might have even sung it to her. I'm just saying it was a rumor. I'm just trying to see if that was true or not.
Well, my wife was in still, we've been married for 46 years.
Wow.
And so she was my inspiration and a lot of
Inspiration.
songs that I wrote. And I started off writing love songs,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was amazing. And I would tell y'all a kind of a funny story that and I was doing even though when I went to Malaco, I was writing some gospel, but at that time I was doing mostly secular,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wrote this song. There was a young lady who was a friend of my wife who was going through a horrific divorce, and she was a country artist and wanted to go. She was headed to Nashville to record, and she asked me to write a song, and I wrote this song. Really, it was a story of her life and this divorce that she was going through, and this song, the lyric, the first verse says, "I thought we had a Garden of Eden, and we did before she came along, before the fruits in the midst of her garden became the fruits that turned you on."
Mm.
It said, "Before God, we were joined together. Before a judge, we were taken apart. And before I was delivered the paper, you and her had made a brand new start. Now everything's out in the open." And
Ooh.
this song was recorded by R&B legend Johnny Taylor.
Oh
Y'all,
God, that is a legend.
yeah. So it was my very first song.
That was placed.
Was recorded by Johnny Taylor, and it actually was the single off of his project called "In Control," which was Grammy nominated. So my first song, I went to Malaco pitching gospel song, and my first song ended up being an R&B song. But the funny part was God spoke to me and said, "I want you to use the gift I've given you for my glory.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want you to write those songs anymore." So I'm sitting at the fire station one evening, sitting there in a writer's mood, and this song came to me, and it was a secular song. And the first time in all of my writing days, the song came out complete, verse, chorus, bam, everything. But it was kind of a little raunchy, a little bit. And God said, throw it away. I mean, and I knew this was going to
I
be a
rebuke
hit
it.
for
Right, he know
one of
ain't got
my
no business writing no raunchy songs.
look. It had a little raunch, a little spank on it, and so I threw the song
Oh,
away.
Jesus.
And then about 3, 4 years later, I'm in my car headed to the record company. The lyric came back to me. The song came back to me in its entirety. 3 years now. I wrote it down one time, threw it away. It came back in its entirety. And I started thinking, man, this is a pretty good song. Maybe I could get, one of the blues artists with Malaco to record it. And so my radio was off at the time. And I turned my radio on, and there was a song. Shirley Caesar was on the radio, and her song was on the radio. And the song said, "I want to tell you a story about a backslider,"
Right. And that was
and it
God talking to you.
convicted me. As soon as I turned the radio on, it was Shirley on telling the story about a backslider, and I said, "Lord, okay, I got
I
it this
got it this
time.
time.
I got it this time."
Right.
So from that point forward, everything that comes out of me is for the glory of God. And so, because I understand that again, he gives us these good and perfect gifts,
Yes.
but he only gives them to us to make room for him.
Yes.
And so, but that ended my secular writing career.
Well, let me say this as I pet. This is my last thing I'll say to you,
Uh-huh.
as I pass over to Robert. I want to personally thank you for being that integral
Oh yes.
executive.
Oh
I
yes.
want to thank you for always having enough love for us people that are in the way, that are doing the work, having enough love to spend time with us, to spend time mentoring and educating. I want to thank you for being that example of a man of God that
Mm-hmm.
in all of the opportunities and power and abilities, you are still yet humble. You are still yet in a service mode. That means so much to us that are doing alike and similar in our areas. There's a pastor that says he has to come to Mississippi and preach, and he had the same fears that I said I had, and he
See?
said now those fears are gone because of this interview. So you are always touching lives everywhere you go. So I personally want to say thank you for sharing with us. When we heard we were going to be able to get this interview with you, we were like little giddy young men, excited because we were getting ready to get
Because
with the
I've been
legend.
trying. I've been trying for a long time
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Well, let me say this, and truly, I hope it blessed someone. I was the first African American to retire from the Jackson Fire Department. I ran Malaco Records, the gospel division, for 20 years. I left Malaco and I worked with an ad agency out of Chicago, and TV One was our client. I was the client service director. We did all of their grassroots activation. I left there, and with a friend of mine, we formed a company called Faith Based Communication,
Mm-hmm.
and we managed the McDonald's Gospel Tour for 8 years.
Wow.
Took this tour around the country for 8 years. So I was
Wow.
the operation manager there, and then I left. A guy that called me out of that,
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed a year too long, and I stayed a year longer than God a guy that called me out, but I was almost like Balaam's donkey. Y'all know that story,
Mm.
and so it was almost the Lord was just saying, "Hey, I've called you out of this." So before the pandemic hit, I accepted an appointment as a pastor. Matter of fact, my last year managing the McDonald's Gospel Tour, I pastored and did that at the same time. And so I came out of that. I walked away from all of that, accepted, the appointment as pastor. And where I am right now, ministering to God's people, I don't want folks to remember me as a firefighter. A lot of folks don't know I was a fireman. I don't want folks to remember me as the executive director of the gospel division for Malaco Records. I don't want folks to remember me for, being the with TV1, being with the McDonald's tour. Where I am right now is really where I want to be remembered for. And as a matter of fact, what we're doing now, we're doing street ministry.
Yes.
I partnered with a brother that's doing tent revivals, and we're taking it to the streets. Matter of fact, we've had Mississippi Mass under the tent in the Mississippi Delta.
Mm-hmm.
We've been going across the state, and so we're ministering on the tents, and we're seeing people walking right off of the street, been sleeping in abandoned houses,
Jesus.
coming and giving their lives to the Lord. And so that's where I am right now.
Yes.
And this is the season. If it's going to be kind of frozen or fossilized, my season gonna be frozen or fossilized. This is the season where I want it to take place because when the rubber meets the road, at the end of the day, these gold records really they're not gold. For those out there listening, I'm telling you, they're spray painted gold.
Right.
They're not gold. So this is a season that I really want to be remembered for. He said, "When I was hungry, did you feed me?
Yes.
When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was a stranger, did you take me in?" So I really want to be remembered in that Matthew 25 type of person. So, and I just thank you all for giving me the opportunity to really be able to share with others. Because we sometimes I think we get our marching orders mixed up,
Yes, sir.
and it's God didn't tell us that that we shouldn't have all those things. He said we just should keep Him first.
Yes.
He said to us, y'all can have the cash, just give me the credit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am right now, this last season, and I just pray Dr. LT and Dr. Robert that this is the season I'll be remembered for.
I just have one more question. How does the singers get selected to travel? Because you can't travel 150 people all the time.
Yes,
And, and,
the
and,
re- the
and before you
reason.
before you say that, because now that I'm free to come to Mississippi and everything, I got a special anointed ministry of the shh.
He ain't put you on no record.
So this in case you need that shh.
That was James
You know,
Cleveland's ministry,
no,
not
no,
yours.
I know, but it could be used in rehearsal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that you can use the shh.
Then we'll do the yes,
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
yes.
All
We'll
right,
do that.
I was just trying to fix.
Okay.
See,
All right.
Again, your gift make room for you, Dr. LT.
In
So
the back.
come on down, come on down.
See, listen at
But
look at that kind man.
that's it. But we actually, we our strength normally was 150 strong in the choir with the singers. With the last project, and we always open up for audition before we record because members they move on for all kinds of reasons.
Right.
And so normally we'll bring maybe 20, 25 new people in for each recording. And but this time we had 64 people who passed the process. And we decided, you know what, we're going to keep all of them. So right now we have 214 voices in the
Jesus.
choir. And the way, back to your question, how do we select? Our principal people who are the lead singers and backup lead singers, they go every time if they're available.
Hmm.
Everyone else, because you can't take people out off of their jobs and
Right.
out of their churches, and so what we do, we have a rotational system. Where if we take 40 singers on the road, and out of those 40 singers, 10 of them are leaders or backup leaders. That means you're rotating 20 to 30 other people out.
Hmm.
So we have a rotational process. We have someone that manages that,
Mhm.
and then we have a sign up sheet. Whenever we get a booking, we put the word out there and people sign up. And if you went on this trip, then it might be 2 or 3 trips later before you can go again.
Very organized.
Yeah, but hey, without organization, God is God of decency and order.
Yes.
And so our people know that, every 3 trips or so, they will, if they want to go, they can go. And also in this system, some folks only want to choose to go to, they want to go to L.A. They don't want to go to Little Rock.
Right.
So, but the people who went to Little Rock, I'm just using Little Rock as
Right.
an example. But the people who went to Little Rock, we can't count that against them, and so we say, hey, everybody want to go to L.A. And so, but not only do you have a system, but you have to take into consideration all the other things. Those who go to with you to Backwood, Alabama, and Backwood, Mississippi, you can't count it against them when you're going to New York, L.A., and all
Right.
these other places.
Right.
So there is a system in place that has worked well for us,
Hmm.
and we do give our members an opportunity to travel. And we're headed to Spain in December. We'll be there for the whole month of December.
You need
We
a
come back
luggage
home.
carrier. You need somebody to carry your luggage.
You know what? Let me go and check that out.
Okay.
but
Just
but
remember the shh,
Right. No, no,
guys.
no, no. We'll leave the shish at home. We need somebody that can really
yeah,
work.
but we, even with that, we can adjust our group up or down. We're only taking 18 people to Spain,
Okay.
Wow.
and because it's so expensive to do that.
Yeah.
But in on September 27th in Memphis, we,
The
we're
mass
participating.
choirs.
We're participating in the meeting of the
Of the
masses.
mass choirs.
Yeah, Chicago Mass,
Yep.
Tennessee Mass,
Yep.
Mississippi. All of us are coming together for a meeting of the mass. At that particular event, we'll probably have 150 to 200 of our choir members there.
That's Jason
Because
Clark.
Jason
His
Clark in
second year.
Tennessee Mass, yeah, and Dr. Ferranda Williamson with Chicago,
Hmm.
and we decided to get together to really keep a choir present, because people ask, well,
I
where
can't
is
go.
choirs being? They back on the scene. I said, we haven't been anywhere.
Hmm.
Just because radio don't play choirs and you have programmers, we say it comes down to programmers, not preference.
That's right.
Because if you have one program director that programs 20 stations, and those stations happen to be in major markets, and now you don't hear choir or traditional music, people infer
Hmm.
that that music is no longer relevant.
Hmm.
But it comes down to preference.
That's right.
And just listening to you all this morning, coming on, man, I was rocking to God, He Won't Fail.
Yeah.
That music is still,
Timeless.
um, it's timeless music, but because you don't hear it on the radio. So what we're doing, and I've had this conversation with Donna Lawrence, with John P. Key, Hezekiah Walker. All of us are saying, man, we're here for each other. Because back in the day, we used to go to Charlotte for John P. Key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then John to turn around and come to Jackson for us.
Hmm.
And so we didn't charge, John didn't charge us, and we didn't charge John.
Wow.
Now,
Now
now
And,
I'm
that's
and
gonna,
how it
so,
should be.
yeah. Now
yeah,
I'm gonna jump in on this because I got to end with these last three, and these are all business questions. The
yeah,
the first one is centered around your availability, and here there's two parts. Number one, um, will you be able to tell us when you're coming to the West Coast? So maybe we could do a piggyback in San Diego once you
yes,
come to the West Coast. Number one. Number two, we're going to be having a conference coming up called the IGAM conference, and would you be willing to be a panelist?
Hmm.
And then number three left my mind, but it's going to come back before Robert answers.
yes, yes. Well, to answer those questions, put me down. I said, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Okay.
Let's
And
go.
so I'd say, just get me the date. And, if my schedule is very flexible.
Hmm.
So and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it. Get me the information. And what we do, and we have gotten calls from Los Angeles, and the way that we make it work, it has to be where you do multiple,
Correct.
and I hate to use the word concert. We use the word services,
Right.
as in church services.
Hmm.
But we try to do multiple services while we were there, because last time we were in L.A., or time before last, we were there with the McDonald's tour
Mm-hmm.
years ago, but we did L.A., we did San Diego, we did San Jose, we did Oakland, we did San Francisco. Matter of fact, Walter Hawkins brought us
Love Center.
uh, to
Love Center.
Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, the way that we do it, because it's so expensive
Hmm.
to,
Yeah.
to fly that far with lodging, ground
Right.
transportation,
Right.
food. So our thing is, we would talk to you all, and kind of once we start to getting it shaped up,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll say, hey man, let's do a stop there, and then we divide all of the expenses between
Hmm.
all of the dates and make it, where, because I can't, as the head of the group, I can't operate in a deficit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the privilege of the U.S. government. I can't print money.
Right.
I can't do it and not go
Yeah.
and not go to jail.
Right. Right.
So I have to work it out where it's going to be, where it's going to make. We say it has to make SENSE, and it
Yes.
has to make CENTS.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
It
Right.
has to make sense.
Right.
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 And my last thing, the third thing is this in reference to choir music. We're one of the few stations that actually has a show on Saturday mornings called Choirology, and all they play is choirs because we know the
Wow.
importance of choirs. And when we started the station almost 7 years ago, it was about the full experience of gospel music and not just the what programs are saying. What I shout out to
Hmm.
our program director,
Mm-hmm.
what she said is that not only are we going to be friendly to the veterans, but we're also going to be friendly to the up and coming. And she's probably one of the few
Program directors.
PD program directors that listens to every bit of music that is sent to us and responds. And we get over 100 pieces a day, and we watch her just listen,
Hmm.
because she feels like as a former artist that she would send stuff out. Sometimes she would hear, sometimes she didn't hear, and she said it's important that we respond to everything. And so, but she never said that we're going to be monotheistic. She said we're going to be big and across the span. So we have choirs, and it's all up in it. So as Kojic boys, we're gonna always have
Oh
choirs.
yes.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And the great thing about that is that you never know who's going to be who.
Hmm.
And so that's why you have to, just even from a selfish standpoint, you have to treat people, a certain way, because you never know who's going to be who. I can remember the first time I met Ricky Dillard, and I was the record executive. We were in Chicago, and Ricky came up to me at one of the services in Chicago, and to see his group, I'm saying, oh my God, this was before Ricky did More Abundantly and The Promise and
Mm-hmm.
did that project. And so, but when I met Ricky, we became instant friends.
Mm-hmm.
This was before Ricky was Ricky.
Right.
I remember meeting Ty Tribbett, before Ty was Ty.
Mm-hmm.
Ty was participating. A friend of mine was doing the Wrigley Gospel Choir competition, and Ty was one of the participants and won it.
Yep.
And but I met them, before they really were who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But because you treated them with respect,
Yeah.
and so to this day, these are friends.
Yeah.
And so we have to, you never know who's going to be who tomorrow. And so, to play that music, a lot of stations, they don't want to play, they're not into breaking artists.
Mm-mm.
They're in, once you reach a certain level on the charts, they will add you then. But what you all are doing, you all really are door openers. And that's the reason I said earlier, I used the word ministry. I threw the word ministry back at you because you all said it first.
Mm-hmm.
What you all are doing really is ministry, and you all are door openers. And that was one of the things I promised God. I said, God, you ever open the door for me. This was before I went to Malaco Records. And I said, if you ever open a door for me, I will be a door opener. And I actually give my phone number out. Even at my church, when I do the call to discipleship, and I give my number out over the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, your accepting Christ is so important until it's worth me getting spam calls and crank calls. It's worth me giving my number out for this for that connection to take place. And so it's the same thing now in the industry. I tell you go to my Facebook page, you go see my cell number.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know how important it is, and God opened a door for me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how can I be selfish
Come on.
that I'm not going to be a door opener for others? Because I know that I don't have to worry about your gift overtaking my gift,
Hmm.
because the word says your gift make room for you.
It makes room for you.
So what we have to do as artists, we have to be door openers for others,
Mm-hmm.
and because it only helps us. Just think about it now. If you have a flame on your candle and someone else's candle is does not have a flame, how does it hurt you lighting someone else's candle?
It shouldn't.
And so if you light someone else's candle, then suppose a wind come by and blow yours out. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've already,
Mm.
if you have put your flame on the other folks, there's a good chance that they could come back and relight yours.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. Come on.
So
Preach it,
so
Pastor.
what we no, so what we have to do, we have to be, we are the only, and this is the thing I love about the scripture. It talks about we're the light of the world and we're the
Mm-hmm.
salt of the earth.
Hmm.
The word "the" is a definite article, and "the" means the only one.
The only one.
We're the only light.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about how dark the world is getting, it's an indictment on the light, not on the darkness.
Come
All
on.
right.
Because see, but when light shows up,
Preach it.
darkness has to go.
Yes.
Mm.
So the problem is more a problem of light than it is of darkness. It's more a problem of salt than it is decay. Because see, what happened, we end up in as the light, we ended up staying in the shaker. And salt was not made for the shaker. Salt was made to come out of the shaker.
Mm.
And salt is a preserver. Salt is, you even with you in Chicago, and those streets get icy, they
Mm-hmm.
put salt on them. So the word said we are the light, we're the salt.
Yes.
And so when we light other folks' candles, it's it really you could really do it from a selfish standpoint
Mm-hmm.
and say that if your candle ever go out, people that you have shared your flame with can come back and reignite yours. So I just want to encourage us to
That's
understand
good.
that for us who are here in the industry, we say gospel. We're in the gospel industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to understand, what does it mean to be in the gospel industry? It means that we have to be about the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I saw this thing where they had this company on one of the morning shows, and they found out it was a blueberry muffin company. And they found out that the blueberry muffin company, they did not have any blueberries in their blueberry muffin.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
False advertisement.
So here it is. We're saying that we are gospel. We're gospel artists. You would think that there would be some gospel
Mm.
in the gospel artists.
Mm.
So
Well,
I'm just gonna say, y'all, let's stop doing this false advertising.
You
amen.
better
You know,
preach it
if we're gospel artists, let's be about the gospel.
about the
Amen.
gospel, the good news.
Well, I'll just say at this point, the doors of the church are now open.
Yes.
Ushers get at the doors. We get ready to collect offering.
Yes.
I told you I
That's
couldn't
that
help it.
preacher. That's preacher coming out of
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
We appreciate you. We know that your time is far spent, but we
Hmm.
appreciate you so much. And we have a mutual friend, Connie Larissa Tate. She comes to the West
Oh,
Coast Her brother is a preaching phenom in
Albert,
California.
look, Albert was one of the Mississippi Children member. Albert Tate, and you talking about a man who's been set apart, a young man. But I've known Albert since he was a little boy,
He's
and
awesome.
he's all. And Albert was in a group here. Went along with Ben Cone, and y'all know Ben Cone, Benji,
Yes.
with his group Worship. But you had Albert, you had Benji, you had Toby Johnson, all of these I say young kids
Right.
at the
Right.
time from here in Jackson, but they came up through the ranks, and so Larissa and Larissa was a member of Mississippi Mass. You're supposed to be 18 years old to join the choir.
Uh huh.
Larissa came in as a 15 to 16-year old,
And she
and
led.
her and led, and her sister Diawana, who's a member of the original Mississippi Mass
Yes.
members, and then Albert being a member of the Mississippi Children's Choir. So yeah, but those are my children there.
Good
So
people. They're good. They're good people. My
So
cousin's a worship leader at his church.
so
oh man,
I have to say this. We're gonna have to do a part two
Yes, we'll have
because
to.
we got so many more
More
questions
questions.
and things that we want to ask you. But we got to take care of the business, and that is we got a new cut from you,
Crystal Akins.
and we want you to introduce the new cut when Jesus says yes, and we're gonna play it for the folks. First time we play it, we just got it fresh, and then we want to
wow.
play it for the people,
Yeah.
and then keep this in rotation.
Yeah, I just got a text message from Crystal while we were on the air. Crystal texted me. I sent the video to her, and I'm telling you, Crystal, the night of the recording, Crystal was like a bull in a china store. She wrecked the place,
Oh, she's
and
amazing.
oh, she is so amazing. And I encouraged her this morning just to say, Crystal, girl, your gift is already making room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my word. Just make sure that in this making room, you make room for God. And but just got a response from her. But this song actually, I wrote this song. We were in South Africa about 8 years ago. I wrote the lyrics to this song then,
Mm-hmm.
and it just wasn't the time to release it.
Time and again.
And yeah, and Benjamin Cone the third, he and I got together. He did the music to it, and we called Crystal. Stan Jones, who's the producer, reached out to Crystal to
Mm-hmm.
see if she was available. And my God, and she's like a member of Mississippi Mass now.
Mm-hmm.
And but this song is because so many people, the world the world would tell us no.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know, you can't do this, you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. And so the God gave me the lyrics that said, "What He opens or close, no one could close. What He opens, no one can close, and what He closed, no one could open."
Mm-hmm.
And so, even though, and He alone is greater than all of our foes. You put together, you got 1 million people that comes against us, and He stands one
Mm-hmm.
versus them,
Mm-hmm.
and He's greater than all of our foes. So when Jesus
Come on.
says yes, no one can say no.
Come on.
Man, man, man. Well, y'all,
That's a preacher
we, we,
machine.
we, we have had a education, a
My
blessing
God.
of Jerry Mannery with us on
Mm-mm-mm.
this morning. The song is called When Jesus Says Yes by the
And she's
incomparable,
incomparable.
legendary
Ooh.
Mississippi Mass Choir. You're hearing it here first, right here on GOD Radio 1.
.com.